Hey guys, this is John, and I'm playing Fantazi in the 5-minute pool on ICC. I'm leading with d4. I recall playing this player before. I don't recall them playing a Grunfeld, though. So, let's play... I'm going to do something a little experimental. I don't often play e3. In fact, I can never remember having played e3 in this position, but I'll play a line that is rather conservative for white, but maybe decent for a blitz game. It avoids some of the more active tries. So by playing this way, I'm trying to discourage black from playing c5. Is the point of this setup. Let's go knight f3. You get kind of like a Grunfeld Slav hybrid. You see black has played c6. Bishop g4. I'll grab the bishop pair. Let's see if they're willing to give it to me. All right, so black is digging in. They're putting pawns on light squares. I want to get my bishop out. So let's just play bishop d3. I'm happy with the bishop pair. It's castle. Yeah, this prepares counterplay with b5 or possibly d takes c4 and then b5. I feel like I should drop my queen back. It's not well placed on f3. I also feel like I could play for c5, but that gives them an incentive to play for e5. Yeah, let's drop back here. So maybe d takes c4, bishop takes c4, b5, bishop b3, and then c5. Nope, they played b5 right away. Okay. So c5 is going to run into e5, maybe b3. Let's keep the tension for a moment. I'm just not sure if I want to take or push. So playing b3 and leaving open the option for black to do that seems all right. Now maybe f4. Clamp down on the center. Okay, let's try it. Because now I might actually play c5 if I want. And since I have pawns established on d4, f4, I'm preventing this e5 break. I've done a little bit better in 5-minute ever since I switched from alternating 3 and 5-minute games to just purely 5-minute. So I think that's been a positive change. I feel I have much more time to explain my thought process, and I'm not saddled with my most difficult time control, which is definitely 3-minute chess. All right, so this is interesting. Black is initiating hand-to-hand combat in the center. So despite me having the bishop pair, they're showing no fear in opening it. It's a good idea. Okay, I'm going to play a useful move. Just bring the rook over. I'll pre-move that. Pre-move this. Now a6 is under attack. I have an isolated pawn. So if I take, they take d4, bishop e3. I guess they can play queen b4. Something about that doesn't look right for black, though. Bishop takes. What are they going to do? I know this pawn is weak. Okay, I'm going to take it. Inviting them to take here with check, but I think bishop e3 will be an effective reply. I predict they move this knight and try to attack d4. Maybe knight f to d5. And if that's the case, I might want to play king h1. Maybe something like bishop b5 to attack that rook on e8. If knight d5, knight f d5, knight takes d5, they can take with the pawn. And then the rook is attacking my queen, which is in turn defending the bishop on a6. So I feel I might have some coordination issues in that case. King h1 feels like the right move. King h1, bishop takes d4. Knight e4 maybe. Tough to say. Is there a way to hold on to this pawn? Because if I play bishop e1, the rook is defending it, but I lose f4 is the thing I don't like about that. King h1 or king h2. Let's go king h1. I'll invite them to take on d4, and we'll see what happens after that. I might play bishop b5. But knight e4 is the direction I'm leaning. Bishop takes d4, knight e4. That's a surprise. Queen to h4. So maybe bishop b5 now? Yeah, let's attack the rook. If they take f4, I take with the bishop. They take with the queen, I take e8. I win the exchange. The dark squares around my king are weak. I have to be mindful of that. It's nice that the knight is on d5 and no longer on f6, so he can't play like knight h5 to g3 and fork me. Okay, so on this move, I'm thinking take. There's also queen f3. Queen f3 may be better. Now queen f3 he can take, and then this is hanging. Okay, let's take. And now I'm going to defend this. If knight takes f4, I'll play queen f3. And I'll be hitting the knight. I'm also eyeing a8. I know I lose a pawn in doing that, but I think the a pawn is worth preserving. That's what I'm trying to do with this move. I want to keep that for an endgame. I know it's going to be a huge distraction for black down the stretch. So I don't mind losing the f and maybe even the d pawn. Both these pawns are weak. Obviously, I wouldn't like to go down a pawn, but if it comes to that. Okay, bishop e1, they have queen takes f4. Queen f3 makes sense right now. Yeah, let's not look too much further than that. Just defending this pawn. Bishop c6 could be playable, attacking the rook and the knight on d5 someday. I feel they have some alignment issues on the d file. Bishop there. That's a little odd looking. So maybe queen f2 is a possibility. This traps in my king a little bit, but bishop a5 or bishop c6 again. Bishop a5, they'll just play rook c8. Then I have bishop c6. Bishop e1, they take. All right, I'm going to do... Am I going to do that? And I'm going to play rook c4. Kind of eyeing the queen laterally. I probably spent too long on that move, but I wanted to make sure I get that right. Maybe they can play knight e3, but I think they're going to want to get their queen off the same rank. Yeah, queen f6. Okay, let's bring this over. Bishop a5 is a move I'm gearing up for. If knight b6, I can drop the rook back to c2, guarding this bishop. Let's come here. Just guard this pawn reliably. Come here. They're going to bring this to f5. Yep. Let's go bishop c3. I don't really want to trade that, so I'm going to avoid that for the time being. Ah, okay, that's an idea. And they're going knight d4. Gotta hurry now.
Check.
Again, gotta hurry. Try to use my a pawn aggressively. Let's play here.
Check.
Use the pin.
Check.
Maybe king back to f1. Really, you can do that.
Check.
I'm impressed that they can do that. Yeah, now I'm losing. They check and go take.
Check.
Ooh, they blundered their rook, though. What?
Check.
Wow. Ah, all right. Well, I'm not upset about that result after being down a piece or down the exchange plus a pawn in the final moments. Somehow I was able to gather up all their pieces and cling on for dear life for the draw. I didn't see this bishop b2 move. So right here when they played bishop d4, offering a bishop trade, I went back to e1. This was a good move. Attacking the bishop and also threatening knight d4. I couldn't figure that out. I guess I'm just losing an exchange. Let me see. I can still play bishop c3. So attacking their queen. But I think on the move that I made, what was it? If it goes forward. Oh, I have to... Well, let's look at it from the beginning. So this e3 variation. So often in the Grunfeld, black wants to throw the c-pawn up the board with c5, which is a nice move to complement that bishop on g7. They're trying to pry open this long diagonal and attack that pawn on d4 from a distance. So this setup is kind of geared towards preventing c5. Like if they were to play it now, I can take and I might have a decent chance of hanging on to it. The rook on the c-file certainly helps. So hence, black goes for kind of a Grunfeld-Slav hybrid, c6. I played knight f3, bishop g4, h3. So I get the bishop pair, although it must be said that black maintains a reliable position. They do something that you see in the Slav a lot, which is to set up all the pawns on light squares, and then you're not all that unhappy about having lost the light square bishop. So I think that's what they're going for. Castle a6. I feel like these positions are ones where white is a tiny bit better, but you have to play accurately to prove it. Because black is positionally sound, and he has a setup that's free of weaknesses. White does have the bishop pair, and hence I might be looking to open it up long term, but the reliability of black's position makes that a difficult proposition. White's going to have to play accurately to prove any sort of advantage. So I played queen e2. Let me just put the engine on it for now. So Stockfish gives me a comfortable advantage. Rook fd1. I drop the queen back just so that if e5 comes in the future, I don't have to worry about e4. That was the main reason for moving the queen. Also, I can perhaps play f4 and get a bind, like I tried to do in the game. So queen e2, they played b5. I kept the tension with b3. If I take, I'd probably want to take on d5, because taking on b5 allows a takes with an open a file. But I wasn't sure that taking and then c takes leads to much. I mean, probably to prove anything with the bishops, I have to go e4 or prepare e4. The computer wants to play f3, maybe doing exactly that, but that didn't seem clear to me in the game. So I just played b3. This is often a good option when you're not sure whether to advance or take the pawn. Simply defending a pawn that's under attack is a good middle ground option that keeps those other two options open. I didn't like advancing because after c5 they can play e5. This is a customary pawn break. Black no longer has to worry about the queen side much, so they can break in the center and they're attacking here. Maybe e4 can be played. So b3, rook e8. And I went for this binding move f4, just striving to prevent e5. Now if I get another move, I might play c5, now that e5 is a no-go for black. So I think Fantazi did something pretty good. They traded and then played c5. And despite the position becoming open, I think black is well placed for the coming complications with the open lines. So I went here, kind of a reinforcing move. I didn't like c takes d5, because I thought after this, with the black rook x-raying my queen down the e-file and this pawn being pinned, I wasn't seeing much from me. Queen f3, the computer wants to move out of the way. Attack d5. Take, take. Queen b6, attacking d4. Yeah, it appears like black has plenty of play. Yeah, I think Fantazi did a good job of understanding how the pawns should be exchanged in the center and what the position would look like after that happens. So I played rook fd1. Take, 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 take. So now I have an isolated d-pawn. Knight b6 was perhaps an inaccuracy. It doesn't allow me to take on a6. So they can play knight d5 right away. That does not lose a pawn, despite them moving to a square where I'm attacking it twice, because if I take it, they take back with the pawn, and the rook is attacking my queen, so I don't have time to win it. Also, bishop takes d4 is now a threat. So maybe knight d5 was better than knight b6. Here, and here I think they made the right call. Knight f d5. If queen takes d4,
Check.
I must get good play after bishop e3. Queen b4. Even this is okay for black, according to the engine. Yeah, I can't play rook b1 to go after the knight on b6 because my own knight on c3 is hanging. So they played instead knight fd5. So black is down a pawn, but they have some nice targets. This is loose. These two pawns are loose. The pawn on a2 is loose, oftentimes. So king h1, queen h4. That move surprised me. I thought they were just going to play more directly to win the d pawn back, but they played queen h4. Bishop b5 hitting the rook. Here. Take. All right, so a4. The computer's liking my play. I felt like that pawn was worth holding on to. I mean, I don't think my instincts failed me here. I think this is a pawn that in the endgame will be of great concern for black because it can have the effect of tying down a rook or making a breakaway and trying to queen. Certainly, I think my a pawn has more potential than like my d or my f pawn. So they took here. I played queen f3, just defending f4. Bishop c6 was another move that the computer likes. Attacking the rook, attacking d5. Rook a7, bishop takes, pawn takes. Okay. What if rook takes? Then rook c8,
Check.
king g7, bishop b4. The position is now open, so there might be some tactical shots for white. Like, for instance, if I can set up this and then bishop c3, bishop b4 also threatens bishop f8. It's still complicated, but maybe white's getting the better of it. I played queen f3, just defending the f pawn. Bishop here. Rook c4, x-raying the queen. I didn't come up with a good plan around here. I think I spent a little too long on these last couple moves. Yeah, you notice right here, after bishop a7, we're nearly even on time. So they have a small time advantage. So I have 125, and I spent a good portion of my time, like, you know, nearly half my remaining time on this move, rook c4. That's too much. You can't justify that in a blitz game. As I was thinking about this more and more, I was conscious of the fact that I was losing time as well. So bishop c6 would have been better. Attacking this and also d5. So rook c8 and then just push the a pawn. Okay. Yeah. I want to prevent black from coordinating, especially in creating threats against my king, because I do feel like my king is a bit exposed. You can see they're controlling like the g1 square from afar. Knight f6 to h5 to g3 is one idea I mentioned that I have to be aware of. Probably not so relevant in this position. So I was kind of thinking about those things, and I really wanted to play bishop a5, but I just didn't really see what it accomplished after this. Maybe I have bishop c6 now. Here. f5? Really? Wow. Not a move I would have thought about. If take here, and black's structure is getting destroyed. So I played rook c4, and then they backed the queen up to f6. And from here, black certainly outplayed me in the time scramble. I missed some good moves. Bishop c3 attacking the queen. Yep, that would have been better. g3, I kind of figured this might be a weakening move. Now my king has no pawn cover whatsoever. Here, rook e2. Yeah, and Fantazi started playing fast around this point as well. And here I had to find bishop to c3 to avoid losing the exchange. But I played rook b1, and now black should be winning. I believe if they play this accurately. I still have the strong a-pawn, but it's not going anywhere. And it's kind of a miracle I survived after this. I think they did
Check.
fine. They got the queens off the board, and they won my a-pawn.
Check.
Bishop e6 was a cool
Check.
move. Note that in this position, I have to avoid king e4. I get checkmated in two different ways. f5 is checkmate,
Checkmate.
and so is rook e3.
Checkmate.
So that would have been unfortunate had I blundered into that, but I played back, and that was a cool move, bishop b6. I'm quite impressed they found that. So opening up the attack on my rook and also threatening a5.
Check.
So I just traded and
Check.
lost the pawn.
Check.
And by some miracle, with 5 seconds left, they started hanging all their pieces. Yeah, if black would have just played like a little more calmly here, I think they're going to flag me, even though they're down a piece for a pawn. 15 seconds versus 5. Just keep these pawns back, don't trade them, and he'll always have main material. But he went kamikaze with his bishop and then allowed me to take all these pawns. I was like pre-moving at this point, but
Check.
yeah, a lot of silly moves from both sides. I'll take the draw. Okay, so I think I'm satisfied with my opening play. I think I might have got a small edge out of this. This is a line I might employ again in the future. I think probably the critical moment was right around where the pawn tension was resolved. You know, often exchanges of pawns, especially like multiple exchanges or a sequence of exchanges, that can indicate like a shifting in the position, a turning point, because you'll be left with a totally different landscape once the pawns have been swapped. And that's kind of what happened here when they took on c4 and then played c5. Good idea by Fantazi. Probably right around here is where I'd have to find a better move, better way of playing. All right, hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I'll be back again tomorrow with another video. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.